when I was younger, I allowed myself to be convinced of the fact, and this is not just when I was younger, the building block started when I was younger, into my 20s, all the way into my 30s,
Yeah.
that even though there are things that I could do, I was always convinced that I wasn't the best person to do them. I was always convinced that I would never do them right. I was always convinced that I was not worthy to do them. I was always convinced that the things that I like, my nerdiness, were out of place. I was always convinced that, right? And so it was one of those things where in the public eye, people be like, oh, Kale's anafanya da da da. But you're like literally sinking in the quicksand of your own like insecurities. And of course, these insecurities are not things that you put in place. The world around you, the things that you were told, the things that you heard growing up, these foundations are building blocks to the trauma that one way or the other for me got me to believe things about myself that were not reality.
Okay.
And so one of the things that I do nowadays is I always remind myself, go back to factory settings. Because I remember the Kels at the age of 7, 8. I was courageous and ambitious and confident. People talk about me be confident now. I'm like, my role model is my 6-year-old self.
Yeah.
100%. Because I was not so inundated with the beliefs, these outside forces in me. I was not so saturated at that point. And so even when I'd read those books, I'd think about the world and I'd think about my creativity and my talent. I'd think about what I really wanted to do. And when, of course, I started expressing and sharing with people what I wanted to do is when now I started getting the, oh, wewe. Na wewe pia. Haiwezekani. Wewe, unajiona sana. Unajiona, I think, listen, I think I've heard it all. All different ways that somebody can, nimezisikia zote. Na kuna vingine sijavisikia, nimefanyia, kuna wengine wamefanya mambo. To really make you believe or that that's not something for you. So my biggest pitfall is that it took me too long to get to a point where I realized what that foundation was still in existence and how that foundation had actually altered my own worldview of myself in the world and how I was connecting to people and giving back. Not even giving back to kwamba I'm impacting the world, but even connecting and relating and engaging in conversations. Because even as I'm speaking to you, before you've ever said something, I've already judged myself in the way that I think you should judge me because of the way somebody else judged me before. So, nimeshajiweka kizibani, nimeshatoa hukumu, nimeshamaliza. So even before you say anything, I am already in my mind out of the books for you. And I think that is very subtle in terms of how it operates within a lot of people, by the way, especially in the creative space. And I don't feel like we talk about it enough openly, and we don't have conversations where we can be vulnerable about it. And the reason I share openly nowadays is because I'm like, there are too many people going through these things. And I wish there was a point where I could literally hear somebody sharing authentically about their journey. So I can also, me too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, kumbe.
Yeah.
So then you can tell me, okay, so how did you escape that? Don't just tell people work hard. But there were different ways that you had to navigate the different, issues that you were going through. And so, that's for me, because I think that's really kept me from being myself, from discovering myself, from really exploring friendships, from really exploring relationships and what they could mean. And I can only truly say I'm only learning to make friends now. I'm only learning to love myself fully now. I'm learning to do those things because I've literally been able to look clearly at those experiences, call them for what they were, see my part in them, because I also played a part. I'm not just going to blame the world. I heard a lot of part in some of the BS I did, right? My part in them, and be able to call a spade and say, yo, no more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.